The name of this session is Using Tools, Apps, and Extensions to Improve Accessibility for All. And our host, or our speaker is Curtis Strietelmeier. He is an experienced educator, technology trainer, and director of technology and district superintendent. And as an education strategist, he works with school districts to assist them with selecting and implementing technology solutions that improve teaching and learning. He has supported numerous districts that transitioned to one-on-one, and actually was in a district where they rolled out 5,000 Windows desktops. I think that's pretty incredible. Google Apps for Application is another areas of his expertise. He's led the technology design for new schools and upgraded wireless networking infrastructure for multiple existing campuses. And he was also an elementary teacher and an educational technology specialist and a trainer. Dr. Strietelmeier writes for Connect IT blog post, consults with schools on EdTech initiatives and projects, and presents at various conferences around the country. So without further ado, and no more technical difficulties, I hope, Curtis, take it away, okay?
Thank you. And Sandy, you can see my screen, correct?
I can.
All right,
looks good.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on which time zone you're in. Thank you for the opportunity. This is Using Tools, Apps, and Extensions. Like mentioned, my name is Curtis Strietelmeier. The starting point, I want to mention that all the apps and extensions and tools I'm sharing all have a free version. Many also have a paid upgrade, but what I'm going to be working is the free version. So whatever I show should work for you wherever you're at. Most of the apps I'm sharing will work on Chrome and Windows, but they will all work on Chrome. So if you're a Chrome school, know for sure that will work, or Chrome web browser, they should work as well. And many apps will require a login using either a Google account or an O365 account. Just wanted to put that out there from the beginning so you know. As Sandy mentioned, I'm not going to go through this whole list. This is a picture of me. You also see me in front of you. You can tell I've aged tremendously in the last 6 years since this picture was taken. But the key thing here I want to point out is my first name is not misspelled. It is, I guess probably technically it's misspelled, but it's not a typo. It is Curtis with 2 S's. So if we get finished and you have a question, feel free to email me anytime. Because my first name is kind of misspelled, it makes my email real easy to remember, which is just curtiss@cdwg.com. Always feel free to reach out. I'm happy to work with you. All right, let's get started. So what we know, there's a need for improved accessibility. We know that in everything we do. You know, we can see it in the big going forward, and the fact that we see a lot of buildings now have automatic doors or handles that work in bathrooms, or different kind of ways to really make it easier for students and people to transition within an environment. Well, we needed the same thing within schools as well, because the other thing we know is 1 in 3 children enrolled in schools have a disability of some type, either dyslexia, dyscalculia, a vision impairment of some sort, hearing, language, physical, or ADHD. There's all those the main ones that we see, but there's also the ones we don't see. And what we want to try to find is a way to make the classroom environment and the technical environment they're working in smooth for them. We also know, while not every child has a special need, has been identified with an IEP or a 504, we do know that every student can benefit from differentiating learning supports. So what we're going to look at today, we're going to start simple, just look at the basic tools that come with the Google operating system and Google tools. And then we'll look at some extensions, and we'll finish up with some applications that I think are useful for extending what students can do in the classroom, especially students who may have a need for an accessibility need. All right, so let's get started with just some basic stuff that you may already know, and if you don't, that's fine too. Google comes with a number of built-in accessibility features. The nice thing about these is they're synced to your account. So if I log into a machine and I lose it, or I log into a machine and I go log into somebody else's machine, my accessibility features stay with me. If you don't know how to get to those, it's quite simple. In the bottom right-hand corner, where it says sign out and you have the power button in the settings, you should be able to click that little downward arrow and see a little guy with his hands out to the side. It says accessibility. If you can't, just click on settings and go to advanced and you'll find it there. Within that Google built-in accessibility, there are a lot of different items. I'm not going to cover them all. And in fact, we're not even really going to go into them from an example standpoint. I just want to highlight some of them. There's that alternate input, dictation into any field, which really a nice little tool, because a lot of times if you're working on a quiz, or you're working on a survey or something where you need to be able to, we all know you can record into the Google field, when you want to search, but can you do it into every single field? And yes, you can. And that's really good for the students who have a hard time typing for whatever reason, either they're physical issues or it's just they're not very good typers. Again, going back to supporting all students. There's visual impairment support for those students who have a hard time seeing. There's a couple of things there. One is select to speak. I can highlight the text. It'll read the text to me. Again, great for visual impairment. Also great for struggling learners or struggling readers. Gives them an opportunity to hear the text and they can follow along if they want to. Also within that, in visual impairment support is things like an oversized pointer or mouse that when you move around, it circles with an orange circle around it, a little highlight click. So things that are just native to Google that make it easier to utilize. Visual supports, that high contrast themes. If right now we're always used to putting black on white, but what if I want to do white on black or do a different color on top of a different background to make it so that text pops out? Definitely something built into Google and very easy to utilize. And finally, the audio. One of the things they've introduced recently is this idea of this Chrome live caption. So if you're on something that is video based and you need to be able to see it live captioned, it can do that. So those are all things that are built into Google itself. So if you have a Chromebook, you can take advantage of that. Now, if you don't have a Chromebook, that's fine because there's a lot of stuff integrated into Google Apps. And let's just hit on those real quick. In order to do that, I'm going to have to escape this large screen and go to a different screen. So let me move this toolbar. All right, the toolbar at the bottom right now. All right, so most of you know, for example, that you can, anytime you want to, voice type. So under Tools, I'm just an example document. And with the Tools, voice typing is right there. I turn it on, I see this little icon pops to the left. Again, a nice tool for students who just want to get ideas on paper. And because it's difficult for them to get ideas on paper, they lose track of what they want to say or how they want to say it. Nice tool, already built into Docs. I simply click on the microphone, wait for it to turn red, and it starts going. And it's real simple. Things like periods, exclamation points. You just tell it what you need and it puts it up there for you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. Real simple tool, nice, easy one to utilize for students, and it's built in. Another nice tool here is if you have students who English is a second language, I can always come into Tools and I have the Translate Document option. I can hit Translate Document. It's going to retain the original document. So you can see it says copy. I'm going to choose my language. I don't know very many other languages other than English, but I will try Spanish, even though my Spanish isn't that great. But you can see there's hundreds of languages in here. In fact, let's just come down to Spanish. I hit Translate, and it gives me that document. So a nice tool. Again, when we talk accessibility, we a lot of times think of disability, but not necessarily. Accessibility could be things like that second language, the ability to be able to understand in my native language is extremely important, especially for young learners who are just transitioning to English. All right, the last thing I want to show here, actually, lets me go back to the presentation. So I'm going to jump back over there real quick. So let me represent. So looking at the presentation again, one of the options that's there is closed captions and slides. And what I've seen, and I'm going to show it here, I'll actually go ahead and show it now. What they've changed a little bit with slides recently was there used to be like a little bar down across the bottom that had a little CC on it, and that's how you chose it. Well, what they've done now is this little drop down menu with the 3 dots. So I click on that 3 dots, I come to caption preferences, you can see where I want to put it, but lets me toggle on or toggle off. And as you can see right now, what I'm saying is at the bottom of the screen, which is nice for students who maybe in the back of the room can't hear very well, or just students who have a slow or have a difficult time just hearing in general. This gives them the option to read as they're going through. Very nice option for any student and for teacher. What I've seen is a lot of teachers will turn on a blank slide in a present mode and then just put it up there. So even if they're not teaching currently as a slide or in Google, maybe they're in the front of the classroom presenting, they still might have this up on their screen, a projector or IFP or whatever it may be. So students can see what they're saying and read what they're saying at the same time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be every time you use a presentation. It can be any time at all, and it works very well for that. So let me close that though. I get very self-conscious because on that sometimes. All right. So good tools already built into Google. We have the Google built-in accessibility features, which sync to your account. No matter where you go, they go with you. The visual impairment tool we talked about, select to speak, high contrast themes. And then we also talked about those that are available on any device. So it doesn't matter if it's Windows or Chrome, it's there. Things like voice typing, translate, closed caption, and slides. You will notice every like docs and sheets and all of them will have a little accessibility menu built in that has a couple more items, but those are for specific programs that you might want to run as well. All right, so that's enough of what's native. Let's start talking a bit more about things like extensions and applications. So before I jump in extensions and applications, I always think we need a foundation for why we've chosen that extension or application. So in my case, I always want to come back to maybe the ISTE standards or universal design for learning. And I'm not going to read through all these, but there are things I'm looking for. For example, on the ISTE standards, students leveraging the technology to take an active role in choosing, achieving, and demonstrating. So we want them to be able to show their understanding and knowledge. Students can curate, students can create, students can use these tools to do something new. I think a lot of times traditionally we think, oh, they have a disability or special ed, back when I was growing up. I don't think it's so anymore. I think it's gotten a lot better. But when I was growing up as well, we need to really turn this content down, or we need to turn this assignment down because they're not going to be able to do it. Well, the question wasn't whether or not they could do it. The question was, did they have the right tools to do it how they can do it best? And so I think that's what I start looking for when I start looking for applications. Is there an application that allows me to show understanding and knowledge without having to do a traditional write a paper or read a book or whatever? Is there a way to do that? So we'll talk about that something and we do the applications. Looking at universal design for learning, have we, can the students get around more easily? Does it work for them? Again, going back to the idea of the door on the front of a building, I can have a handle, and that'll work for 90% of the people, or I can have an automatic door that works for 100% of the people. That gives me that option. Multiple tools for construction and composition. Can I build connections, guide information and processing and visualization? All those things we're talking about when we're talking about that, and all those things support all students. So let's take a look at some extensions here. So the first set of extensions I'm going to call utilities. Now, they're useful utilities in that they allow students and the teacher to do things that they need to be done. The first one is Mercury Reader, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute. But what it does, it basically, if you're on a screen or you're on a website and you get on that website, there's all that junk on the side, and there's all this stuff, and oh my gosh, maybe I just can't focus because there's too much going on. There's too many different things. How do I get that narrowed down? Mercury Reader takes care of that for you. Next one we're going to look at is Dualis or Dualis. And Dualis, what it does is it allows you to take that one screen and make two. So, a lot of times you don't have dual monitors, but having two windows open at the same time as a student is great. I can have my instructions here and I can have what I'm working on here, and I don't have to go back and forth and get lost in the process. Or I have a video here and I want to take notes on it over here, or whatever I'm doing. Dualis lets you do that. One tab is one of those nice tools where it just takes all the tabs. If you're a big tab person like me, I use it to kind of keep track of all my stuff. But as a teacher, you could go through and find all the sites you want your student to go to, hit one tab, and it puts it in a link that you can then send to your students and they can work off. So they don't have to search the whole time. Last one here, very simple, images on and off, does exactly what it says. On a website, it turns images off and on. So let's take a look at these tools in action. So I'm going to minimize. And as I jump between tabs, somebody just yell out if you can't see what I'm looking at. That'd be helpful. All right, so this is just a regular website. I pulled it up. This is from MSN. I always like using MSN as an example because MSN always has, as I mentioned earlier, all the stuff on the sides, all the junk, all the things. And you can notice the text right now is blue and red, and I'll explain why that's happening in a minute, but that's a different extension. But from this sense, I'm just looking at this website, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I give this to a student, they're going to get just lost, and I'm going to click everywhere, and I'll never see them again. Well, Mercury Reader, which is my little spaceship up here, I click on it, give it 2 seconds, and boom. Now I have this a nice document without all those things. But my hyperlinks are still active. The hyperlinks within the text are still active. The picture that was relevant to the text is still there. So it gives me those options to do that as a teacher, that I can share this now with a student. You'll notice it has its own URL you can provide to the student as well. But it's a nice option if I just wanted to print it out. Much easier to print out than going through the process of printing out that full page. So kind of a cool little tool from that standpoint. I'm going to close this one. Boom. All right. Oh, it went back. Let's refresh. There we go. All right. So I'm going to open up a new tab. And the only reason I'm doing that is because when I do Duelist, I want you to see how it works. So that was Mercury Reader, cleans up all the text. Next one we're going to look at is Duelist. So that's the guy here with two little things next to each other. It lets me split my window, and you're going to say, how do I want to do this? Do I want bigger, smaller? How do I want the look? What's important to me? One big screen. What do I want to do? I'm just going to choose one so you can see how it works. So I'll hit this guy. You'll notice I now have it took it. I have a split screen. I can work over here, and I can look up something on dogs if I wanted to. Where at the same point, I also have my text on the side. So I don't know how well this one shows. I don't know if it shows you both screens at the same time, but if it doesn't, I do know that there are two versions of Chrome running right now, and so you can see.
Yeah, Curtis, it's just showing the one screen.
Okay, all right, sorry, but do know it works. So that's the best I can tell you right now. All right. Oops, I just closed my whole window. Hold on a second. All right, so Duelist, that's what Duelist does. So trust me, it works, but I figured that might be a concern. All right, one tab I'm not going to go do because I don't want to lose my tabs, but images on and off, I will show you real quick. Very simple, nice little tool. If I just want to turn my images off and on, you'll notice I have this little icon. I hit it, and they should go away. But they didn't go away. I don't know why. But normally they would go away, and it would be you wouldn't have the images on the screen. I don't know why it's not working. All right, so those are some basic utilities. Mercury Reader cleans things up, gets things off your screen, allows you to read more clearly. Duelist splits the screen in two. One tab lets you create a list of hyperlinks that you can then share, and then images on and off lets you turn off images on a screen. All right, and those are good tools. Again, flexible materials, guide information, minimize threats and distractions, takes care of all of those. Let's take a quick look now at some accessibility tools. So accessibility to me are things that allow the students to make changes to the page themselves that will improve how they approach the page itself. It's one of those nice ways to say, I want to make a change that supports me as a learner. So the first one to look at is Beeline Reader, and Beeline lets you do 100 different things, and it's a great program. I will say of all the ones that here, even though I'm going to show you the free version, there is a paid version that is you will have to look at it getting to some point. They only allow you to use the free version for so long. Turn off the lights. If you're on YouTube and you want to get rid of all that distraction, you just want to be on the video portion of it. That's what this one, turn off the lights, does. Color Enhancer is great for students who suffer from color blindness. It allows them to adjust the colors on the page so it matches how they want to view the page. Oh, and this one, actually, I've left the wrong title on that one, but this one is actually darkens the whole website. All right, so we'll go back to that one. So that's the wrong title for that one. So I apologize. Super dark mode is what it's called. I don't know how I ended up with an extra screen here on them, but those are the ones we're going to hit on right now. So let's look at Beeline Reader. So first one up, I pointed out earlier, if you look at my text, I have this blue and it goes to red, and you're like, okay, why is it doing that? And it might even be easier to see, but you see how the text kind of changes colors. Well, that's because I have this program over here called Beeline Reader. And when I click on Beeline Reader, it allows me to do a lot of different things. I can change the color of the text, so it transitions between blue and red. If I think that's going to help my students kind of track better, it'll do that for you. If as a student I say, you know what, I have a hard time reading that, I wish it was bigger, I can actually increase the size of the text myself. You'll notice the text is getting bigger as I work. It's a great little tool for that. Or Maybe I read better if there's some sort of spacing. I can increase the spacing between my words. It allows me to have that kind of level of control over the websites I'm visiting, and it stays with it, persists. So if I go to a different website, the same settings would be there. One of the other nice settings from this is I can open, for students who may have who suffer from dyslexia, I can also click on that, and you'll notice the font's changed. So assuming that that would work better for students who have dyslexic issues, that will allow them to read the text easier. And again, it stays with the page going forward. It's a nice tool, and it really does a lot of different things that gives you a lot of control over the websites you're visiting. All right, I'm gonna turn that off. I will say, if you have it on yours, it's for my sake, usually when I'm done presenting, I turn it off because I don't need the different coloring, but it is one of those things you'll have to make a decision on as far as how that fits best for you. Okay, so that was Beeline. Let me close Beeline. All right, next one I wanted to hit on was turn off the lights. So let's just say I'm going to basic YouTube video, and I'm going to bring one up. Let's see what my kids have been looking at. So hopefully I don't know what. I'm just going to bring up this one right here. Yeah, I don't need to actually see it, but what I need to do is say, okay, well, maybe I want to just focus on just the video portion of it. Turn off the light, as you can see, turns everything off except for the video itself. So the only thing highlighted on that page is the video. So from an accessibility issue, or allows me to focus on this, or makes it brighter than the area around it, so it jumps out to me, so it's easier to see. So turn off the lights, very simple utility, but it does give me a lot of control over what I'm viewing as a user. Let me shut that off. There we go. All right, next one up was color enhancer. So let's just say I wanted to, let me come in here. I can come into color enhancer, and what that you'll notice is I hit setup here. And it says, okay, which one of these, if I work through these stars, and which one sets up the most? And once I figure I can adjust it until I see it really well. And once I have it, then I can hit OK and enable. It will change the text. Now it's going to have a hard time working with Beeline. It's going to fight Beeline. But what it does allow you to do is to change that text. You can see a little bit of it changing colors, but with Beeline wasn't on there, you could really see it. It would jump out. So for those students who may have a color blindness issue, it will really make that the text jump out for them, especially when it's a colored text of some type. All right. Close that. All right, the last one I was going to share here was super dark mode. Yeah, where did super dark mode go? There it is. In super dark mode, all it really does is just that transition from traditional to flipping it around so you have the light on the black. The problem we have here again is Beeline's reader is working in the background, so it will allow you to change that visual display so it's one of those things where students are seeing on top. It flips it more or less. So you're on a black screen with the colored text on top of it. It gives you more capability to see the text. All right, so that was Beeline Reader, which allows you to do all the different things with the different, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, it's going to drive me crazy if I don't make this fix. All right, Beeline Reader lets you say, okay, I want to have it blue and red, or I want to change colors between lines, or whatever I want to do, or I want to increase the size of the font or the spacing. Beeline Reader gives you all that micro level of control, as well as this dyslexic font. Turn off the lights. We saw on a YouTube extension, it just turns off everything but the actual video portion of it. Color enhancer allows you to work with students who may have a color blindness issue, or just have a hard time just between colors. It allows that clarity for that. And then super dark mode is that transition from dark on white to white on dark. So that's those accessibilities. Those are the extensions I want to talk about. I know there are more out there. Those are just ones that I find useful and I usually like to talk about. All right, so let me jump down here and make back to present. All right, so we've talked about extensions, and we talked about what's native. Let's talk about some applications. So I'm not, when I talk about applications, again, we want to come back to the idea of the student as a creator, student as a constructor of knowledge, a curator. Those are things we want to hit on. So we're going to look at some different applications that fall into those areas. So the 4 that I have here under creator, again, all of them are great tools, but we're going to look at 2. One is Spark. I always bring up Spark, and it's more of a middle school, high school level program. But what I like about it is it's template based for students. So if students want to create something, it's very simple to get them started. It allows them to put their ideas down in pictures or in a certain way they want to do the text, and they can work as a pair or as a group. It gives a lot of flexibility. So we'll look at Spark in a little bit more detail. Screencastify, you probably know. It is the one where it records whatever's on the screen. You picture me talking as do my mouse work, whatever I'm doing. Great from a teacher standpoint if I want to create some sort of flipped classroom environment or show how to videos, or great from a student if I want my student to be able to explain how they got to an answer. They can do it in a way where it doesn't require, maybe pencil and paper. They can actually show it and how they worked it out. WeVideo is your iMovie replacement for Chrome. Again, a great opportunity for students who are visual or want to be creative to share ideas. It's a very simple program to use and allows them to take video and create content that they can then share. The last one on this one is Pikto for me, and it is really good for primary and students who have not started learning how to read yet or have a difficulty reading. And we'll talk about that. That one we will talk about. So let's just take a couple minutes and look at Spark from this page. So Adobe Spark, again, I'm going to go in with my Google account. There's a lot here. There's a lot you can do here, and it can get overwhelming. So I'm not going to dive into, I'm only going to dive on one little bitty part of it. But within Spark, there's a bunch of templates. So, going back to the concept of not only are we doing something, we're doing something that could be real world oriented, or something that, even though, it used to be, hey, you have to be able to write a book, and you have to be able to write an essay, and you have to be able to do all these things in order to be constructive and go on to work and do all this. Well, really anymore, question is, can you build something visual? Can you build an artifact? Can you do something that makes an impression? And that doesn't necessarily have to be a writing. And you can see under my options for my templates, I have flyers, I have Instagram posts, I have Facebook posts, web pages, collages, things that will stand out, and real world activities for students who may be struggling and could still show information. All right, so let's just look at the flyer, because I think that's probably the simplest one to start with. When I choose flyer, it's going to come up and give me this option to say, okay, what kind of flyer do you want to build? It's one thing to note. Remember, I said some are paid and some are free. The paid version, if you have a little yellow, chevron in the corner. So but let's just say we're going to do a flyer for class, and we want to do it on some sort of maybe business you want to start, and it could be anything you want to do. I'm just going to just jump this one because I like using this one as an example because there's a lot here. As a student, I choose a template. Again, I can do all these things very simply, very straightforward. And a regular ed student, general ed student, special ed, it's going to work for any of them because it's something they'll find interesting, and it's not differentiation in the fact that I'm doing something simpler. It's a differentiation in the fact that I'm able to use skills that are different from me. All right, so you'll notice when I click on the text, all these little panels, every little image, every little piece is unique in its own little area. So I can say, I can do whatever I want. So for those of you who've been in Indiana for a long time, recognize one of the original Indiana license plates. But then I can add my own text. I can change the background color. But I have this control in a way that doesn't require programming. It doesn't require anything sophisticated, but it allows me to be creative and original in whatever I'm doing. Just as that text is there, I can jump down and change the picture if I wanted to. And you'll notice when I do, I can hit replace, and I can choose photos. I can choose different things I want to choose. I'm just going to find out why I'm going to choose this cat, but I'm going to choose this cat. And you'll notice it puts the picture in there. So the reason I like Spark is it allows me to do a real world activity. It doesn't differentiate between the kid in the gifted class and the kid who may be, struggling in the general ed class. It doesn't matter. Every kid can do it. And those kids who are more creative or have a capability to say, do something original, it's there for them. They can do visual, they can do all these different texts, they can do all this stuff without having to get bogged down into the minutia of, writing a paper or doing something along those lines. Now, those aren't good things. I'm just saying this is real world. This is what companies will be looking for. All right, so that's Spark. I'm not going to do any more there than that. Just show you it's there. It's a great program if you get a chance to play with it. Let me close that. All right. Again, we mentioned Screencastify and Revideo. The other one I want to show is Pikto for me. And the reason I like Pikto for me is when I was first director of technology 20 years ago, I had the director of special ed come to me and said, hey, I need to buy this program. And what it does is it allows me to do storyboarding. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't get what this is exactly, but it was one of those things where I had to learn a little bit. But it allowed me to, let's see, why am I not able to get into it? Hold on, it should be working. It allows me to create storyboards. Let's see, where's my, why am I not, there we go. All right, there we go. So you might be used to this kind of visual screen. You can see these different boxes. If you work with primary students, or you maybe work with students who are not strong readers or cannot read yet, that idea of what can I create that will allow me to share ideas. So let me just jump in. You can see there's a number of boxes. I can change the number of boxes from size to, do I want 3 rows by 3 rows? Do I want 2 rows by 2? Whatever I want, I can do. You notice it changes that. What you can also do are things like I want to put a photo or a picture of a dog, and I just go ahead and search for dogs. To be on a dog kick. There we go. I got hot dogs even. I can click on the picture of the dog, and you'll notice it's in the box. So, if I wanted to teach sight words, great tool for that. Or if I wanted, just as a kid, I have a hard time, wanted to tell a story, but I have a hard time and I want to be able to refer to things. So I have dog food. I can click there. The dog had food. Fed, went to sleep, put that there, and I can tell a story, but it allows me to have that a visual. So I had the picture of the dog, I had the picture of the food, I had the picture of the bed, keyword for stories. It allows me to tell that without having to write a lot. Or again, if I want to use it for sight words, I could do that, whatever it is. But it's a nice program in that it gives you a lot of flexibility as a teacher, and it gives you a lot of flexibility as a student. When I'm done, I just can file it and then print it or save it however I want to do. Again, this is the free kind of version of it. There is a paid version where you can do a little bit more. But again, if you're just wanting to create storyboards or you're just wanting to do sight words, something you can definitely do with Pikto for me. Or I always say Pikto for me, but I guess it's Pikto. Yeah, Pikto for me. All right, so I'm going to stop and breathe for a second. So I'm going to close that. All right, so those are my creator ones. You can create with any of those applications, which is what we want. We want students to think of themselves as creators. Spark does that with templates. Screencastify does that with whatever I'm capturing on my own screen. Revideo lets me weave together sound and video to create movies. And Pikto for me allows me to create storyboards that I might want to utilize with my students or as a student. All right, so that's creation. Let's talk a little bit about Constructor. So when we talk about Constructor, we want to pull information together and take things from different areas and make something new. Wakelet does that. It's a program. It allows you to collect all your information from different websites and make a nice collection of articles, videos, and images. It's a good tool for that. Very good for digital research, those types of things. Satori, which is one we're going to look at, is more of like a storyboarding or story. Allows you to build stories on a certain subject, which is a great way to construct. MindMup If you ever worked with the old program inspiration, that's really what MindMap is. I love MindMap. I love mind mapping. That's how I think. And then CAMI is your ability to annotate pre-existing PDFs, so take notes and those types of things. All right, so let's look at Satori real quick. And then Sandy, I believe I go all the way to noon, correct? Or do I have a shorter period?
Yes, noon is the cutoff.
All right, thank you. All right, I might be done a little early, but I want to make sure I didn't get too fast here. All right, so looking at Satori. So Satori, you're going to create what they call stories. So I'm going to create it. Now, this is the free version, obviously. So on the paid version, you can have a lot of templates that are available to you. But on the free version, you'll notice there are all these a lot of templates are grayed out. Really what's available to you is blank. So I'm going to click on blank. All right, and right now it doesn't look like much, does it? You know, but what I can edit like the headings. So let's just call this I'm just going to choose flower, so it looks something other than purple. All right, we'll have absolutely no relevance to what we're doing, but I just want to give it something different screen. All right, so you'll notice it walks you through it. What's my title going to be? And mine might be, I always use World War II because I can usually find photos for it. I want to write a short introduction. World War II was between, and I realize this is the American entry to the war, but 1941 and 1945. All right, so I could start. Now I maybe insert a heading. Let's just say Pearl Harbor. But you notice as a student, I'm working through this, I'm clicking through it. But now once I've got that in there, you'll notice there's a little plus sign. Let me move this out of the way. There's a little plus sign and it's okay, well, what do you want to add to your story? What do you want to include? And again, I can add more text, but what if I want to add an image? I can go and add an image. I can go find one. I don't know how to spell Hawaii, so we're gonna, oh, I was actually right, okay. So I can bring in images. I can bring in other text. I can make notes. So I can click on it and say what I want to do from that text I did. Maybe I want to add, and again, these are getting locked now. They used to be free. If I want to add an audio file or I want to add some sort of thing there, I could. Or if I want to add a multiple choice, I could build out all those different options to my screen so I can start to build out comment. Again, text, I might just say this is Hawaii. Was attacked. And I can font or highlight whatever, but as I'm building out the story that goes along with it. And now as a student, again, creativity, construction, maybe I've gone out and collected information and brought it together. It's a knowledge constructor situation. And again, you notice there's nothing terribly overwhelming on this. And to me, it's much better than writing a book or writing an essay or a paper. I can then share if I want to work with a partner, somebody else to work with me. I can do that. If I'm a teacher and I've created this, I could share it to classroom, or I could Teams if I was working in Teams. I can make it private. I can make it public. If I want to share it out to the parents, I can share it that way too. As a student, when I think it's all done, I can then present. You'll notice, again, it's just basically a story. It walks through it, makes it very simple to go through and gives students an opportunity to create something that's useful, shows understanding, shows knowledge, but does in a way that it's, again, a quick way, not a quick way, quick's the wrong terminology. I would say a constructive way to show understanding without being bogged down in other types of formats. Let me close Satori real quick. I'm actually going to close. All right, so we're back on the knowledge constructor page. So we talked about Wakelet a little bit. I didn't really go into detail too much there. Satori, we just talked about stories, building stories, showing information, constructing knowledge, and pulling it together. One of the nice ones I like is MindMap. I think this is a great way to show understanding for students. And I've always liked this situation because I think it allows me as a teacher and as a student to show understanding of concepts and how they're interconnected. So let's just say I'm going to talk about, I'm going to do To Kill a Mockingbird. I know that's not, normally I do animals, but I get to the point where I can't remember how to spell certain vertebrates and invertebrates. But you'll notice I might have a topic that's on here. So maybe from that topic, then I'm going to come over and say, well, off of that, I want to insert a child node, and I might put a setting. And then I might say plot. And then I might say characters. And then I can start building off of those. I can say, okay, well, off that setting, I might want to add, I think it was Deep South. I was in the South. I can't remember if it was Alabama or where it was, American South. And then I might go, and I can, 1950s. But I can start building this web that shows how everything's interconnected. My characters, I can come and add. I'm going to do Scout and Atticus real quick. But you can notice how as I start building it out as a teacher and as a student, I can start seeing how things connect. If it's going back to my World War II example, I might do Axis, I might do allies, or I could do something simple like animals, vertebrates, invertebrates. I could do mammals versus, I could add all those different things together to kind of create a screen of how, Atticus, I think that's how you spell it. And then as a teacher or as a student, I can do things like, I don't think I have that anymore because I changed computers. But if I wanted to make this actually an image instead, so maybe I had an image of, I don't think I have anymore. But if I had an image of, I used to have an image of Gregory Peck as an option there. I could put that in for Atticus. I could put in, but as a student, I can build this out in such a way that it looks as an interconnected web, but I can see pictures, I can see those things, and it shows my understanding of how things all play together. To me, it's a great way to see just in general, visual, how things can all tie together and what makes them all part of a larger screen. And that's mind map. And again, just like the other ones, I can't share on the free version of this, but I can print it. I can download it. There's things like that I can definitely do with it. The paid version gives you a little more options, but if all you're doing is looking to build a map, this will definitely do that for you. It's a great tool for that purpose. All right, so that's Knowledge Constructor. Let me leave that site. All right, last one I wanted to hit on was working on engagement. We know from an engagement standpoint, we have, especially with distance learning, there was a lot going on there. How do you engage? How do you engage? But even sometimes with students, with accessibility tools, there's tools that we put out there that sometimes we just need to make sure that are engaging students. So obviously Mentimeter, you've probably worked with it or something like that. That is your survey tool. You throw a question up, kids answer, and you'll be able to get the response from that, and you can keep track of all that information. Good tool for that. I'm not going to that one too much. Goose Chase is one you've maybe never used or even seen. Good tool to get students looking at the world around them in ways that is, again, allows them a creativity to do it in certain way and do it as they see fit, which is fun. Jamboard, ability for students to work together, partner in the virtual white space, and then explain everything. Just given the time constraints, I'm going to jump into Goose Chase, and if we have a few minutes, I might hit Jamboard, but let's just look at Goose Chase real quick. So Goose Chase is a virtual scavenger hunt. And I really shouldn't say virtual because it's not virtual in the sense that you're going to go find the materials online. It is virtual in that I'm going to set it up and it's all tracked through online. So let me go to I'm going to hit My Games. And I'm going to accept the cookies even though I really don't want to. I'm going to do a new game. Now, as an instructor, I might want to do shapes and shapes around us. I can't spell. And find common shapes in the world around you. So maybe I'm having a difficult time as a student understanding, what does it look? What's this look like in a 3D shape? What's a circle? What's a sphere? What's all these different things? But we know they're around us. So I'm going to create that opportunity to say, let's do this scavenger hunt, to go out around you, go in your backyard, go in the neighborhood, go in the, wherever you want to be, and you can do this scavenger hunt for that. So what you're called are missions. So I'm going to add to my mission list. And I'm going to add to my mission list. And I might say, find a circle in your house. Oh, I'm sorry. I got this wrong. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. And I do that, and I create it, and why is my mission bank? All right. And then I'm going to go through and add a mission to the list. I don't know why it's not working all of a sudden. Oh, there you go. What kind of mission do I want to add? A lot of times it may be a photo, video, text, GPS location, but I'm going to do a video. So what will happen is your students will go out and find an image. So maybe they'll go out and find a circle in their house, and they'll take a picture of it with their phone and send it back to this. So that's their scavenger hunt. They've shown that. So you're keeping track of that. And you'll notice as they do it, I don't know why it's not working. All right. What you will do then, you'll create your list. The students will go, and then you can keep track of what they've done. So you have everything from a leaderboard to an activity feed to allowing, see which students have turned in what. But it becomes fun for the students because they're out in the real world finding this information. So it's engaging to them, but also from just an accessibility situation. Again, I'm not having to get out a compass and draw something if I don't want to. I don't have to get out a protractor or whatever. I can go and see it, and I can see it in a real space, which may make it more relative to me and allow me to work with students or work with that idea and concept in my head better. What you will do, students will have a application on their phone or some sort of Chrome device where you give them a code, they go to the app, and they're able to put the code in the app, and allows them to track and take those pictures. I'm really understanding why this is not. Don't know why it's not. I mean, I did an admission. All right, regardless. So that's Goose Chase. Goose Chase is a great opportunity to get students moving, look at real world, find things, and again, from an accessibility standpoint, allows them to be creative and do it in their environment in the way they find useful to them. All right, close that. All right, last one we're gonna hit on is Jamboard. Jamboard, for those of you who are used to a Google environment, are probably used to Jamboard. Jamboard is one of those things that's in your waffle. So if you never can find it, it's actually in your waffle down here towards the bottom. It's right there. There's a lot of other things that are there too now, but that's Jamboard. Now, I will say if you have a Android-based device, there is a Jamboard app that's actually even more powerful than the Jamboard website. So, but this will work for what we're trying to show right now. So I gone to Jamboard. What Jamboard is a virtual whiteboard space that I can share with other people. I come in, I do a new one. You'll notice a blank screen. This allows me to come down and jot ideas down if I want to jot some sort of ideas down, or if I want to add images of what I want to collect, I can go through that and do that however I want to do. Let's do dogs, since I seem to be doing dogs a lot. Then I can take notes. What I like about it is, again, just like every other Google opportunity, you can share it, you can partner, you can work with a partner. It's great from that accessibility standpoint, because then maybe I can create groups as a teacher of students who may work differently together, or some stronger students with some students who need some supports, or students who just are visual learners, or something along the lines where I can create those different types of opportunities for students in a format that they're comfortable with working in. I always like to come back to that is, as technologies change and as our tools have changed, so have the expectations of what it means to learn and what it means to be someone who's knowledgeable, I guess is the right terminology. Because it used to be, could I write a 10-page essay? Well, now Can I create something? Can I create a video clip? Can I create a flyer? Can I create a document? What can I do? So creativity and what knowledge can I take and construct? That's what we really want to focus on. And all students can do that. And that's what's key to all of this. All right, so that's Jamboard, and that's my soapbox. So I will stop on that portion of it. With that, I have shared everything I was planning on sharing. Hopefully you found an extension that you liked, or a app you thought might be useful in your classroom. Again, I'll just go to the next page. I'll go real quick. My contact information is there. Again, Curtis, Strietelmeier, Curtis with 2 S's. If you have a question, if you would like, a copy of the slide deck, I did share it in the chat, so you should have access to it. But if you didn't see it, or you came late, or you closed, if you got, oh my gosh, I never got that out of the chat, please reach out. I'm happy to go through it with you. That Curtis, CURTISS at cdwg.com, Twitter handle at CStreet. And with that, I will say thank you and stop sharing at this point.
Okay, well, Curtis, thank you. Thank you so much. I can't wait to go and play with some of the new tools that you shared today. So I do believe that your recording will be up. The conference hopes to get that posted within, I think, 2 days. So, so again, thank you so much. And for all of you on WUVA, if you would be sure and fill out the little survey for feedback, that'll get you some points for the conference. So Curtis, again, appreciate all of your expertise, exciting tools to make learning better for all kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, for your help. Thanks, guys. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye.